So where do I start? I was born in 1982 to this beautiful lady that was my mother. No disrespect to my mom, in no way, but hey, life was life for her at that time. Um, so I was raised by my grandmother. My mom was in and out of jail. Father unknown. Um, I'm the baby of 5 children. Uh, 3 boys, 1 sister that don't have nothing to do with us. Fine with that too. But yeah. So let's start it off. Let's kick it off to we can go to around the age of 2, and I remember it vaguely, but I can start processing the things that was going on in my life at that time. So around the age of 2, the potty training stage, getting potty trained, I can recall. Never understood why my cousin always used to take me to the bathroom. It started at 2, but I never understood why. He used to always take me to the bathroom when it was time for me to go to the bathroom. Y'all think about that. Ponder on that for me for a minute. So, mind you, we all lived in the same house. Brothers, cousins. You know how grandma's house was. Everybody used to live in the same house. So, grandma was raising everybody's kids, from her kids. So from her kids to end up being her kids. So either way, as time would go on, I would sit up and, you know, get older, and by the age of 3, it got to the point where, I'm fully potty trained. So I was going to the restroom and stuff by myself, but I wasn't bathing myself. I was still bathed, but I wasn't bathing, correctly, and I still needed help at the age of 3, which is, understandable. But why is he doing it? Why not my grandmother? Why not auntie? He's doing it. So, it got to the point where when he would, give me my bath and we would go into my bedroom, me and my brother shared the same room. So when my brother and I would we shared the same room. My brother had his bed, I had my bed. And my cousin would lotion me down, but in the process of him lotioning me down, he's lotioning me down, like lotioning, and lotioning that area down. So, and then I would get dressed again. This went on for a whole year. By the age of 4.5, at this point, I was just like, no, I don't want him bathing me anymore. I can do it myself. I'm a big girl. I can do it myself. So when I got to maybe like the age of, I want to say 5, it got to the point to where he would come in the room when I was in the room, and my brother would be in his bed, sleep. And at that point, it got to the point to where I would be in my bed, we didn't sleep in like pants and stuff. We slept in, nightgowns, underwear. So it got to the point to where he would come in the room and he would do obscene things to me. So when I say obscene, I mean like it started with the rubbing of this area to him physically putting his mouth on this area. That's where it started off at first. And I would just lay there like, what the heck is going on? But my brother is right on the other side in the other bed, and he's older than me. So when I'm looking like, what is he doing? My brother just laying in the bed like he a freaking mute, like he don't see this grown man on me. Like he not seeing nothing that's going on. Like he not trying to stop this grown man from doing nothing. And I'm just like, what the hell? So the next day, I got up the next morning and I went and told my grandma, like, hey, look, we just gonna call him Jay for right now before I drop a name. But Jay came in the room on me, and this what he did. So my grandma said, what? I said, well, that's what he did. She said, okay, all right, baby, I'm gonna talk to him. I said, okay. I left it at that. So from there, as time progresses and everything went on, what I need y'all to do is Life of Part 2. I give it to you in a minute so y'all can get some time to think about dysfunctional families and shit swept under the rug. So, Part 2 of dysfunctional families and shit swept under the rug. So, after me telling my grandma, she said she was going to handle it, whatever, I guess she didn't handle it because it transpired to the next night, where at that point, it went from him in this regional area to now taking this area and putting it down in this area. And y'all know what I'm saying because I don't want to get banned from TikTok. So, with that, it was like very uncomfortable. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I laid there. And again, my brother laid in bed next to me as though that nothing ever happened. He didn't see nothing. He didn't hear nothing. So it was just like, what the fuck ever. Next morning, I get up again. At this point, I went and told my grandma again, hey, look. He came back in the room on me again. And at this point, he put his mouth down there. And she was like, okay. So at this point, I mean, I'm telling my protector, who's supposed to protect me. I'm telling my guardian. I'm telling everybody. So at this point, my mother was in jail. So she had called home one day, and I had told her what was going on. Mind you, I was like 5.5. I'm going on 6. So I'm telling her about what's going on. And she was like, put that on the phone. Put that, I know, well, he ain't, it's to my baby. Put him on the phone. So I said, okay. I said, hey, Jay. So I say, hey, Jay, hey, my mama want to talk to you. Get the phone. So whatever my mama said to him pissed him off, ticked him off, to the point he hung up on my mama. And at that time, me and him and my brother was the only one in the house. So I was in my room. And he came in my room, grabbed me by my neck, and threw me up against the wall and said, every time you tell, I'm going to beat you. And I'm like, every time you tell, I'm going to beat you. So I said, okay, so now you're trying to put fear in me. Okay. I wasn't scared, though. I was confused, but I wasn't scared. So maybe a few nights go by, nothing. He didn't come in there, didn't say nothing to me. And then it was like right after I know my birthday was coming up. And I had got a package from my mom for my birthday. And I come home from school, and my package is open. And he's walking around eating the chocolate bars and stuff that my mom had bought me. And, you know, the stuff, the cards that my mom had sent me, the little jail cards that, you know, they send you from jail. He had took them and ripped them up. And I was just like, okay. So I told my grandma. And I told my brother, my oldest brother, like, hey, look, he opened my package from my mama and ripped up the cards and this, that. And my brother ain't do shit. He didn't say shit. He was just like, oh, okay, whatever. My grandma was just like, well, why would you do that? And this, and, you know. So with that, nothing else happened. Nobody did anything about him opening my box or nothing like that. So that night, I'm in my room and I'm going to bed. So my brother was going to his dad's house for that weekend, and I'm in the bed, minding my business, not thinking about nothing. And he comes in the room with me, and he comes in at this point. He's like being very aggressive with me, tossing me around, grabbing on my breasts and stuff, and in my regional area. So I'm at this point, I'm trying to fight him off, but he's then held me down at this point. And he's sat up and did his little thing to me, whatever. But at this time, he was all over me. So I get up, I go get in the tub, I get up and I run to my grandmother's room to find out she wasn't there. So they had left me at home by myself with him. And it occurred maybe about 3 times that whole night, because I didn't know my grandmother had worked overnight that night. So he just kept coming back in and battering me the whole night. Mind you, I was 6. Yeah, I was 6. So the next morning, my grandma come in. I tell my grandma, I show her the bruises on me, showed her what he did, and everything else. Still nothing happened. I called my aunt, told my aunt what happened. I'm going to say this aunt name is E. So when I called E and let her know what was going on, she was just like, what? Where mama? Let me talk to mama. What are you talking about? So I gave my grandma the phone, and she was just like, you know how she be making up stories and trying to get attention. Ain't nothing going on with that girl. I said, wow. But I got bruises to show it. And to this day, I can describe his lower region area. To this day. Yeah, so y'all come back, like for part 3. I'll give it to y'all in a minute. So, like I said, I can explain, describe everything at this point. So from there, he got wind that I had told again. And he ended up coming in my room. And at this point, he, like, both eyes, purple. Rib area, purple. Bruises all over my arms and stuff. And still, like, he blew, like, mucus from his nose and put it in my face. And the abuse, physical abuse just went on and on and on and on. And it was like, at this point, there's nobody that I can tell. I couldn't tell, like, my grandmother, she wasn't doing nothing. She said I was making up stories. I didn't tell my aunt them no more because they took it as though I was making up stories. So to come to find out that I was under DCFS custody, and I didn't know what DCFS was. I didn't know. I just knew it was a lady that would come over once a month to come see how things were going. So at this point, she had came one week and seen that my eyes were purple and wanted to know what happened. But my grandmother wouldn't let me talk to her by myself. She had to be with her and I to talk to her. So when she asked what happened, I proceeded to get ready to tell her what was going on in the house, and my grandmother was just like, oh, she just make up these stories. She had a situation at school, and that's what ended up happening. And the lady looked at me, and my grandmother looked at me, and she asked me, like, is that what happened? And my grandmother looked over at me, and when she looked, so after my grandmother looked at me, I just looked, because she gave me, like, this look, like, you bet not say nothing. And I'm just like, put my head down, was like, yeah, that's what happened. So they was like, okay. All right, well, we'll just leave it at that. I'll see you guys next month. So that same day, I remember I was outside sitting on the porch, and I was eating an apple, minding my business, just sitting out on the porch. And my cousin come up and was like, "Yeah, what you thought you was gonna keep telling, huh?" And pushed me. And when he pushed me to a bed of like ants. But he pushed me so hard that when I stood up, my thumb was pushed in like this, like it was like literally like over this way. So I fell so hard that I broke my thumb. So I got up, I went in the house. I told my grandmother again that he had pushed me and that something's wrong with my hand. So I showed my grandmother my hand, and she immediately takes me to the hospital, and my thumb was broke. I don't remember like where or whatever. So after he broke my thumb, I come in the house, and we go to the hospital, and then I come home. So when I come home, it was like it was late that night. So I sit up and go in my room, getting dressed, and my grandmother leaves me in the house with him again. At this point, I'm just like, I don't know. So as I'm preparing myself to go to bed, he comes in my room again, and he throws me on the bed. At this point, I'm already eye purple, thumb broke, and I just lay there. And he goes and he messes with me down below, does his business with his hand, puts it on me, and I just get up and just went to the bathroom, put my clothes on like nothing happened, because it was like, what am I telling for? What am I constantly telling for if no one's going to do anything? So this led on and kept going on for some time. And after that, I was just a kid that was just there, being abused physically, mentally, S-wordly. And I'm just like, what to do? So maybe a year or so go past of this same stuff going on. Nothing's going on. Nothing's been done about it. The whole family knows, but they believe that I'm just making this story up. There's nothing's going on. So it was one night, came in, and my brother was here. Man, he was in his bed sleeping, supposedly. And he comes in to come do whatever to me again. And as I'm laying there, I look over and I see my brother eyes wide open. And I'm just like, you see this? Like, why you not getting up to stop him? Like, you're older than me. I'm 6. Like, my brother's like maybe like 9 or something like that. But I'm just like, so at this point, maybe about a good 7, almost 8-ish, my mom come home. She get out of jail. And I sat up and, told my mom about everything that was going on. And so in the mix of me telling, my mom about the stuff that was going on, things like that, she had got, just viciously angry. She was like way upset. So she went and she confronted him about it. So when she confronted him about it, he got mad and he punched my mother in the face. Broke my mother's jaw. And when that happened, I ended up calling my oldest brother to tell him what had occurred. And they flew over there. Him, my other cousin that he was staying with at the time, hurried up and rushed to my grandmother's house because my cousin had punched my mother. But not coming and rushing to my aid because of what was going on with me, about the things that he was doing to me, but to come and protect my mama. Hey, whatever. All I know recall is that they took my mom to the hospital. She came back home. My mother got him arrested, and my grandmother went and bonded him out of jail. Yep. So at this point, it was nothing else that I could do or say anything like that because I'm a little girl. So, life for part 4. I'll be back soon, y'all. I'll see y'all later. So, part 4. So, as I stated, you know, everything was okay, I guess. It went from the Essing abuse to just, at this point, physical. Not only from him, but it went to my mother, too, who I thought was there to protect me. And obviously, I guess she wasn't. So, I'm going to say within a year or so go by, I'm like turning 9. And at this point, you know, he would just do stuff to antagonize me. I would get new gym shoes. He would take my shoes and lock them up in his room. I would get just anything new. He would just take it and would nobody do nothing about it. Just pretty much just doing stuff to me just because, you know, I'm little. So there's nothing that I can do about it. He a grown man. So at some point, you know, like I said, enough was enough. And my mom used to have this Louisville Slugger. And I used to sleep with it at night, you know, afraid that he would come in the room on me. So one night I had it and my mom was out. And no one was there. It was just me, him, and my brother. And so vengeance was mine that night. He came in the room, calling himself, trying to do something to me. And that night, he got the best, how can I put it? What word can I use? He got the best ass Louisville Slugger of his life that day. Because I took it and I didn't stop. I just kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going. Because at this point, now I have to protect myself. So I did it so bad. I mean, it was just like red stuff everywhere. All in my room. All over my bed. And I just couldn't stop. I just kept going over and over and over again. To the point where I end up opening his head. Knocking his eye socket out. And it just kept going there. And I didn't care. So, my brother ended up stopping me. And when he stopped me, he said I just passed out. So they ended up calling the ambulance. We both went to the hospital. I got put in handcuffs. And so I ended up telling the police what was going on and how long it had been going on and everything else. And when my grandmother got to the hospital, due to the fact that I was never penetrated, they could never, you know, say that, oh, what I was saying was true. So still no charges was pressed, and at that time I was 9. So they just put it as though that it was a fight in the house and it just went too far. But I went like haywire. I went crazy, and I was just like, no. He keeps doing this to me over and over and over again. I don't want to go back to that house. He keeps doing this to me, and no one's doing nothing about it. So I'm just going off, and nobody's listening to me. So after that, I think it's like 2 days later, my caseworker comes to the house, and I tell my caseworker everything what's going on and everything like that. So she was just like, what do you want me to do? I said, I want to get out of this house. I have to get out of this house. And so they put me in a foster home. Yep, at the age of 9. And then I was at the foster home for maybe about 6 months. And But I was having behavior issues. I was fighting a lot. I was going through a lot of stuff. So at that point, now I don't know how to control my anger. I don't know how to deal with my emotions because I was traumatized from the age of 2 to the age of 9. And I was penalized for it, for being traumatized. So yeah, we're going to talk about next the trauma of what I went through from 9 to 15 because of that. And again, my family did nothing about it. So stay tuned, part 5. So part 5. So as time went on, I was in a foster home for a little bit. For about a good 6 months. But in there, like I said, I was fighting. I was doing all type of stuff in the group home. And from there, my grandmother was fighting to get me back. So at this point, I end up beating the girl up so bad at the group home that they end up putting me in the psych ward. I go to the psych ward. And after I go to the psych ward, I was there for like 30 days. My grandmother ended up coming to get me. I ended up going back home. So when I went back home, he's still there. Everybody else still there. It was like nothing changed. But my mom, she was still incarcerated. So it was just like, all right, I'm coming back into the same space. Not knowing that every time I saw him, it was a trigger for me. So I would be in my room, minding my business. He'd come in my room and do little stupid shit. Like, he'll come in and, like, muff me in my head. And then he'll come in my room and, like, flip my bed over. Like, if I'm at school or something like that, I'll come home and my bed is flipped over. And I know he the only one that did it. Then, like, he used to do stuff just like, if I would make me food and leave it in the kitchen to go get something out of my room or something like that, or if I leave it on the table to let my food cool off for a second, he'll eat my food. Or he'll do shit like spit in my food. So it got to the point where I was getting tired. At this point, I'm like 10, getting ready to go on 11. And at this time, like, I'm like just like developing very well in all areas. So he will say little stuff to me like, you better make sure you have something propped up against your door because I'm going to take that from you. So I would take my bed and push it up against my bedroom door to sleep at night. Because I know if I told somebody, well, nobody going to do nothing about it. So I just let it be. Then, so by the age of 12, I would say me and him would constantly just like fight. But at this time, I'm old enough to protect myself. But I would get penalized for fighting him. If he hit me and I hit him back, but my hits wouldn't be the same as his hit, I would always use a weapon. I would grab something and hit him upside his head with it. I would try to stab him with a knife. All type of stuff. Because at this point, I'm tired. I'm again. So I'm just tired of not being protected. I'm tired of not having somebody to be there for me and give me, some type of support. So when I turned 12, it was just like everything just swarmed. It just changed in my life. My mother ended up getting out of prison. And my brother at that time, he was in the streets doing whatever he was doing. And so from there, it was just like every time my brother did something, I got in trouble for it. Every time I would do something to my cousin because he doing something to me, I would get in trouble for it. And the abuse started to come from my mom at that point. My brother would get suspended from school. I got a broken jaw. My mother broke my jaw because my brother got suspended from school for fighting because I wasn't there to help him. I sat up and would be at home early, get home before my brother, And if I got home before him and I left the door open for him to come in the house, I would get a stitch of cord put to me because I did that. So it was just like a uphill, downhill battle. Every time I thought something was going good, it just got worse. It went from me being actually abused from my cousin, and then physically abused from my cousin, to me being starting to be physically abused by my mother for no apparent reason. No reason at all, when I thought she was the one that was going to be there to protect me and love me and hold me and have me be okay. So, but nope, that wasn't it. So more on talking about dysfunctional families, being molested, and the trauma behind it, and everything being swept under the rug. So this is part 5. I'll be back for part 6. So, part 6. Like I was saying about starting the abuse from my mom, which was crazy, because it was just like, what the hell I ever do to you? What's the problem? I ain't never did nothing to you. But she ain't like me for some reason. I don't know. I guess I was a child she never wanted. Some shit. Because I was a child that was neglected, full term. My grandma told me I was like 1.7 ounces at birth, 1 pound, 0.7 ounces at birth. Fully drug addicted. But I was full term, and my mom was in jail when she had me. This is what I was told. I don't know how true it is. I don't know. Don't care. I just know I'm here to tell the story that I shouldn't be telling. I shouldn't be telling at all, to be honest. But I'm telling it. So, I recall a time when my mom had, this was my birthday party. She had threw me a birthday party. And I always wonder, like, why my birthday, like, I'm the only one with the early birthday. My birthday in February. But I was just like, I honestly wonder why, like, when it was my birthday and, like, people would come over and stuff like that, they always gave, like, my brother gifts or my cousin's gifts. Like, but it's my birthday. I never understood that. If I got a bike, my brother had to get a bike. If I got new clothes, new shoes, my brother had to get new clothes and new shoes. Like, why? For what? But then, let my brother didn't like what he had, she would take my stuff and swap it out for the stuff that he didn't like and give it to me. And if I had a hissy fit or got an attitude about it or whatever, she would physically abuse me. I just sat up and just like, wow. I missed so many days of school growing up because I had so many bruises on me. And then when I did go to school, I didn't know really how to really act in school, because I would act out in school because I needed some type of form of attention from somewhere, from somebody, because I wasn't getting it at home. So I would get suspended, and then when I get suspended, would nothing happen when I got suspended when I got home. But if my brother got in trouble, I would get his ass whooped. Yeah. He never got touched. I was the one that was taking all the abuse for him. Always. He was like the perfect child. Me, on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe I look too much like the man who supposed to be my daddy. I don't know. But it went on from that, from time to time, and then she finally went back to jail. And then at this point, I'm old enough to like defend myself at this point. So I'm like 13, I'm a teenager now, living with my grandmother. So again, like I said, I didn't know how to control my anger. Didn't know about what to do and what was going on with me mentally and physically and stuff like that. And then um, it just got to the point to where, okay, well, Grandma, it's your turn because you weren't protecting me either. And we got the same exact name. So I found out that we was in DCFS custody and my grandmother was getting checks for us. Oh no, checks? And you only take us out once a month? You're not putting no money in our pocket, but you going on all these lavish trips to Jamaica, taking cruises to the Caribbean. You doing all this, and we ain't been to the movie theater. Wouldn't even pay for my 8th grade shoes, my heels and stuff that I wanted to wear with my white dress. Talking about some you had shoes in your closet. And we didn't wear the same size shoe. Your feet were smaller than mine. But no, it was just like, oh, okay. I guess since I'm going to check to you, I'm going to make it be a check. Come back for number 6 on how I tell y'all about me taking them checks in her car and stuff. I'll be back. My bad, it's been some days, but part 8 of waking up in the hospital and part 8 of dysfunctional family with things swept under the rug. So I wake up in the hospital. I didn't pop my butt with an Ativan. And so my grandmother ended up admitting me into the psych ward. So I got to be in the psych ward for 45 days. All right, whatever. I ain't tripping. I'm just going to do these 45 days and get on about my life and get up out of here. So, not knowing, though, they had me at Hargrove, this place in Chicago. And so they got me there, and I'm in the psych ward or whatever. But at this point, like, I wasn't trying to participate in no groups and all this other stuff. But they was forcing me to participate in group, because if I didn't participate in group, guess what? I couldn't go home. If I didn't take my pills, guess what? I couldn't go home, because they had put me on lithium at this point, saying that I was homicidal, not suicidal, but I was homicidal, and that my anger and my rage, I had to take something to keep me calm. So they ended up putting me on lithium. I took the shit just so I can go home, like whatever. So I set up and was being a part of group, and at this point, as I'm going through group, I'm explaining to them and telling them, they asked me, like, well, what led me here and what was, the sole purpose of everything that was going on. So I end up telling them about the shit that was going on in the household. So when I was telling them about what was going on, that raised a red flag to everything. And so now my grandmother they had ended up, because my grandmother still was my foster mother. So they had ended up contacting my caseworker again and letting my caseworker know about what I was telling them. And so they sat back and was just like, her grandmother was saying that she was making it up and it was all type of lies and stories and this, that. So the therapist was like, no, she's not lying. Ain't no lies in this. She's not lying. She can't be making this up. There's no way. And we need to do an investigation about this, because if we don't do an investigation, it's going to be hard on our end. So my case was just like, okay, no problem. Sure thing, we'll do the investigation. So lead up to them doing whatever. I don't know what type of investigation they did, because it wasn't really too much of nothing. Because at this point, it was just like, okay, I get out of the group. I get out of the mental institution. I get out of there. I go back home. I start doing the same shit all over again. Not coming home. Being out all times of night. Not going to school. Didn't give a fuck about school. None of that. Because it didn't make no sense on me doing it for what? Shit, y'all didn't give a fuck about what I had going on or what was going on with me. So why should I care? Y'all didn't put no forth effort to care about what was going on. So shit, it made me no difference on what it was. So with that, I continued to keep doing what I was doing when I wanted to do it and how I wanted to do it, with no consequences to it. You got a 13, 14-year-old outside toting guns and selling drugs and doing whatever the hell I wanted to do because I could. Because there was no structure, there was no nothing in the household. So, at that point in time, I was maybe about a good 14. I had just graduated 8th grade, so at this point, I'd be damn, go to school or not go to school. I don't know. But it worked out for the better eventually. It took about 10 years, but it worked out eventually, as I should say. Because next we're going to talk about me getting pregnant with my daughter at 16, and my grandmother tried to use her for a check too. Signs of growing up in a dysfunctional family, but everything gets swept under the rug. I'll be right back.